Good morning, family and friends. It's going to talk to you a little bit more from down but not out. Find these words. We are troubled on every side, yet not distressed. We're perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 8 through 9. I stopped by today to tell you that there is good news for the Christian when it comes to suffering. Did you not know that there is a benefit to our suffering? There's a purpose to our suffering and our troubles. Just want to share with you 6 short points for you today that will help us make it through our troubled times and realize that we may get knocked down, but we're never completely out because of the God we serve. 1, God's power is made perfect in our weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9, God promises that my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. When we are weak, God is strong. He shows us in the midst of our suffering, which tends to bring us to a state of submission, that He is powerful. And what He's saying to you, let go of the things that you've been holding on to you, because my grace is sufficient. I liken it to jumping overboard when a ship is sinking and reaching for a board with holes in it, to keep you afloat, and allowing a life jacket to pass you by. Do you not realize that even when you are tired, if you're holding on to the life jacket, it will keep you afloat? My grace is sufficient for you. God's power is made perfect in our weakness. Number 2, God allows suffering to cause us to acknowledge that strength. This principle is found in Philippians 4:13. Paul says, I can do all things through Him who gives me strength. It allows us to realize that our power and our might is not in our intellect or even in our brawn, but our power comes from the Lord, so that we recognize that we are powerless unless He provides the source. I can do all things through Christ. I can do nothing without Him. Down but not out. Number 3, believe it or not, suffering provides comfort to us. Well, preacher, how am I comforted in the midst of my suffering? 2 Corinthians 1:3-4. Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves have received from God. Paul takes it a little further in 2 Corinthians 7:4, and he says, I have great confidence in you. I take great pride in you. I am greatly encouraged in all of our troubles. My joy has no bounds. So comfort is provided in the midst of trouble, in the midst of suffering. Down but not out. Be confident that, lo, I am with you always. Be confident knowing that God will comfort you and hold you in the midst of your storm. Suffering also teaches us to lean and depend on God. 2 Corinthians 1-9, but this happened that we might not rely on ourselves, but on God, who raises the dead. This reliance is the very reason Paul could make the paradoxical statement in 2 Corinthians 4:2 and 2 Corinthians 6, hard pressed, but not crushed. Perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not abandoned. Struck down, but not destroyed. Sorrowful, but yet always rejoicing. Poor, yet making many rich. Having nothing, yet possessing everything. Because I'm down, but I'm not out. Because I got Jesus on my side. Fifth point, suffering produces character and hope in the glory of God. In Romans 5:3 we read, not only so, but we can also rejoice in our suffering, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and hope. Suffering produces perseverance, character, and hope. So we can rejoice in our suffering. For we can rejoice because we know that weeping endureth for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. We know that we serve a God who is the God of suffering. That even in the midst of our suffering, he is with us. Character, perseverance, it allows us to wait on him. Job said, in all of my appointed time, I'm going to wait till my change come. I'm going to wait till God works this thing out for me. Character. Suffering changes who you are because you allow somebody else to take over. And his name is Jesus. Hope. My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. Come at me like you want to. Come at me as you may, but I'm not going to stumble or fall. I'll be like the tree that's planted by the rivers of water. Down but not out. 7. Suffering brings us victory. 2 Corinthians 4:17. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. I've had some good days. I've had some bad days. I've had some hills to climb. But when I look around, all of my good days outweighed my bad days. Because I'm not working for what's going on down here. I'm working for a kingdom not made by hand. I'm working to turn in my mortgage note here and take possession of my mansion on high. Victory is mine. Suffering is a testimony that God is still in charge. You thought you had me. But devil, you are a liar. I might be down, but I'm not out. God bless you.